Hello and welcome to another edition of Morning Hoops Basketball Podcast. I am Anthony Denu. You can find me on Twitter at Anthony Denu. And I am joined, of course, with Kyle McKeown. You can find him on Twitter at RotoKyleNBA. He's the fantasy guy. I'm the former radio guy. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'd appreciate it if you would hit the like and subscribe button. And if you do so, Kyle and I will show up at your house, and we will watch Royal Rumble with you in January.
It's going to be hard to go to everybody's house, but we will find a way.
That's right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see who gets it first. I don't know if that's can we hold on to that?
I'm going to send some surrogates. I don't know if I really want to go watch Royal Rumble, but
there's a bunch of McKewans. You can send whoever.
That's true. There's a lot of us.
Yeah. All right. So we had a small docket tonight with only 2 games. We had, of course, the Mavericks and the Clippers is going to be the big one that was on NBA TV, and then you had the Nuggets taking out the Wizards. But first, let's get to the Clippers and the Mavericks. Mavericks wearing their hot new Fresh Prince of Bel-Air spray can jerseys, and with the alternate court as well. And they lost by 15 tonight, 114-99. Lot to take away from this game. I think we kind of got what we expected, right? Like Luka still had a solid game for facing the defense that he was facing. And like the team that has the playoff experience won the game. I mean, that's kind of what we expected, right?
Yeah, I think that what we've seen so far from the Dallas Mavericks is they're like a 1.5 trick pony with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, and that will work against most teams out there because of how dominant Luka Doncic is. But when you're running up against Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, I think some of us were hoping that their narratives might get turned on their head a little bit, and Luka just might be so dominant that he is able to methodically tear Kawhi and Paul George and the Clippers apart, because it's not just them. It's also Pat Beverly. They've got a lot of options to throw at Luka. So unfortunately that didn't happen. Luka was great getting to the line, 14 of 16, but he was just 4 of 14 from the field. He had 7 turnovers. 22 points is one of his lowest scoring outputs of the season. So there's definitely some of the things that we expected to see, we saw. And I think overall, if you were asking for people's honest evaluation of what they thought would happen with this game, it would have been that the Clippers would have came out, and if they were using their full squad and healthy guys in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, that they would have ended up running away with the game in some respects. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, Luka ended up 0 of 8 from 3, 14 of 16 at the free throw line. It's funny, though, we say 22 points. He's averaging 30, but it's just crazy, once again, not to overdo it, but when you consider his age and how 22 points is considered a down night for him, it's pretty wild, especially when facing one of the best defenses. And he really wasn't even that far off from a triple-double and still ended up with 3 steals as well. So pretty good stuff from Luka regardless.
Yeah, and this game is, I don't even know if it means that much for the Clippers right now. And if anything, their continued dominance, you would actually expect the Clippers you'd be expecting them to continue to rest their guys as they see fit going forward, because I don't know how many contenders there really are out there for the Clippers right now, other than the Lakers and the Bucks, to be completely honest. Maybe the Sixers if things get together, but the narrative there is really kind of falling off the cliff a little bit after Embiid had that 0-point performance in Monday night's games. I
think you and I are in agreement there. I consider there to be 3 real title contenders. I think it is the Bucks in the East, and then I think it's take your pick of the Los Angeles teams in the West. I really think it is those 3 teams in a class of their own right now for the regular season and the playoffs. Certainly things can change at the deadline, but right now that's how I see it.
This is more important of a game on Tuesday night at the opening of the season for Luka Doncic, for Kristaps Porzingis, for the Mavericks coaching staff, for them to try to discern which guys on our roster are we legitimately going to lean toward trying to keep around Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic going forward. Which guys are going to fit against the teams that we're going to meet in the finals over the next several years, which is going to be this Clippers team. So this is an exciting preview of what may come, but it's also definitely not the. And I guess what's fun about it is it's kind of the start of the story of Luka versus this new championship level Clippers team, and that's super cool to me.
This could end up being a second round playoff matchup potentially. You never know, but it certainly seems like we're going to see. I mean, we're going to see both these two teams in the playoffs. Once again, the Clippers have all the playoff experience. The Mavericks do not. It was fun to see Porzingis say a lot of the right things after the game in the post game press conference about how it really is about learning from these type of things, and they have to figure out how to win these games if they do want to end up being a contender. Like, you know, you do have to win the big games, and experience does matter. And these instances surely help. And they're not quite. I mean, they're not there yet, but they're on their way.
On the fashion side of things, what'd you think of the Mavericks' new jerseys, their city jerseys, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air logos, and the new court that came with it?
You know, the Mavericks really as a whole have never excited me from a jersey perspective. There's very few jerseys that I thought, oh man, that's cool. It's tough. So I in this one I think fell short. I think they're trying to do I'm not sure. I did like the court though for the most part. I didn't like the jerseys. I think the jerseys could have been better.
I think it's cheesy, it's corny, it doesn't make sense. But yeah.
What is the Dallas tie-in? I guess I don't know. I didn't understand. Yeah, I didn't look into it because this is considered the city edition, right? Usually there's some sort of tie-in to the city or the state, or you know, I guess I didn't understand what the tie-in was, but I didn't really look it up either. I just was not a fan of the jerseys, and I think most people were not a fan. Is that the reception you got? At least looking on Twitter, I didn't see anybody who thought, "Oh man, those are super cool. I cannot wait to get the Doncic Fresh Prince jersey."
No, I think and I don't think they're actually the Fresh Prince jersey. They just look like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air logo font, which is just, again, a stupid choice. Who knows? Who knows what the reasoning is behind this? You know, with a lot of the different jerseys from a lot of the different teams in regards to the city aspect of them, there's something that is tied to a historic or tragic sometimes part of the city's history. Whereas with these jerseys, I honestly have no idea. It just seems like it was something that the design team wanted to steer towards more of a child-centric or, you know, like more cartoony type thing.
This is a team who did, I believe, once have P. Diddy design a jersey for them. And that jersey was one of their better jerseys ever, I think. But once again, the Mavericks, I've just never been a big fan, other than when they first switched to somewhat of the current jersey. When they first switched to those and they had the Steve Nash and Michael Finley and Dirk teams, that was a lot of fun. At that time, I think it fit really well. But other than that, man, I think
there's some old school Mavs jerseys that I'm a fan of. I can't think of how to describe them because it's really just about the lettering kind of being old schoolish.
Is it kind of is it cursive or no? It's not
a
cursive.
a little bit,
or it's like
it's like from the 80s or early 90s. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yep. I got you. That's
and
fair.
There was another like cityscape one that they had in the 90s that looked okay. That looked pretty good. 90s. I think it was in the 90s. It might have been the early 2000s or late 90s, but I imagine Antoine Jameson in it.
Okay. There was a cityscape jersey that I liked as well. That's fair.
Yeah, so I don't think that Dallas has been as trash on the jersey game as like the Spurs have been, but they're definitely not one of the better ones.
Ooh.
Well, the Spurs just their problem is that they don't ever do anything different. It's always the same.
Yes. I was going to say, if you're considering these teams and what they do for jerseys as lovers, the Spurs are just the least adventurous, the least fun in bed, right?
Well, and thing
it's
is,
all missionary. It's all missionary.
To that Fiesta court.
The Fiesta court. That was like, even then they weren't even changing up their colors.
Give us a little bit of color.
Yeah. And that was cool.
You had a court called the party court, for crying out loud. Come on, man. Let's have a party, baby. Anyways.
Good stuff. All right. Should we move on to the second game of the night?
Yes, sir.
All right. So in game number 2, the Nuggets at home polishing off the Wizards 117 to 104. I mean, this game was on. I was watching it for the most part, but there really wasn't too much to watch or get excited about, at least from a Wizards perspective. I will say, watching Rui Hachimura, even though he had a pretty, he's on a down stretch for sure. 3 of 10 from the field, 7 points, 4 rebounds. But sometimes he makes a few plays. You're like, okay, he shows flashes of being a really good player. And there was a steal he had when Jokic got open in the post. And it really should have been an easy layup or dunk for Jokic. And I was very impressed with how quick Hachimura got in the passing lane and took it out. I've never really quite seen someone pick the ball from the post like that when it seemed like an obvious bunny shot, basically.
No, I wonder if he's going to spend more time at small forward going forward in his career, because he's a bigger guy in regards to his height and everything, but he moves really good for his size. So I wonder if he can kind of use that athleticism and that nimbleness to be able to defend appropriately out on the perimeter as he gets more experience in the NBA.
Yeah, I really, to the point where I didn't think it was him because it was such a fast move. So, and I know he didn't end up with a nice line, but he started off the season pretty well, and hopefully this is just a small lull, and it looks like he's going to get all the run he can handle on that team.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to find any bright spots to talk about for the Wizards. So kudos to you for finding something nice to say about Rui Hachimura on this night. It's just being a blowout. Mo Wagner had a really nice play. We were talking about it before the podcast started, and Wagner was getting defended by Jokic. They were coming up the court, and Wagner used this behind the back dribble near the 3-point line, and it was like this quick stop. He pulled away from Jokic. Jokic kind of fell forward, had to try to get back on defense. And as Jokic was coming back, 2 of the Wizards cut across the paint. And Wagner did this stylish pullback pass, one-handed bouncer to one of the cutters, the second cutter. And it was just nice because it went right, too low for the defender to get to, right to the right spot for the cutter, led to a layup. And that was nice to see Wagner put a Jokic move on Jokic. So that was kind of a cool little moment there.
Interesting line for Jokic. Not your run-of-the-mill 8 points, 20 rebounds, 5 assists game, and 4 of 8 from the field.
Yeah, he had 20 rebounds with like 4 minutes left in the third as well. So
yeah, he had at least 7 in the first quarter, and then his previous high in the season, I think, was 16. So,
and I think his career high is 21. They said on the broadcast. So he was so close to getting his career high, and when they announced it, where he was at in the third quarter, I'm sitting there and I'm going like, "Oh, he's definitely getting a career high.
He's gonna get 30. He's gonna get 30.
Yeah, right. No, he just didn't come back in the game. So, which understandable. They were up. They didn't need him.
Yeah.
Although, how do you have a blowout like this and you're not getting Michael Porter Jr. minutes? What trash coaching! I'm going to find every opportunity I can to rip Michael Malone apart while he's not playing Michael Porter Jr. More. It's frustrating to me.
Interesting night. Well, what do we got going on for tomorrow? We got a full slate, right? Pretty much everyone, almost everyone plays tomorrow.
Yeah, 14 game slate. So only two teams not playing for Wednesday night.
It's the Mavericks and someone else are the only team that have off.
That's the Mavericks and some other team. I'm sure we could figure it out too, mathematically. So I'm just getting up our page for looking at tomorrow's games. All right, let's get into it, brother. All right, wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games to kick off the night. Orlando at Cleveland, the first one. Aaron Gordon still out with his contused ankle. Michael Carter-Williams is out with a strained hip. Dylan Windler is out for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then Kevin Love with a lower back contusion and John Henson with his hamstring are both questionable for the Cavaliers. If we see Kevin Love sit out, Larry Nance should get another spot start there at power forward. What are you looking for in this game? It should be at least competitive considering all the guys that are sitting out due to injury. So that should be fun to maybe see some of these younger cats that we like to watch show out a little bit.
Yeah, as much as I like to trash the Cavs, I'm excited for Larry Nance to get as much run as possible. So, and especially after last game.
Well,
I mean,
20
just and 13.
With Vucevic and Aaron Gordon being out, we're seeing more and more Jonathan Isaac and Markelle Fultz for Orlando. This should open up opportunities. If Love is out, more for Kevin Porter. Hopefully, the fact that Darius Garland isn't playing against a good team will help him have a good game. So all things to hope for and look forward to. Next game on the night, Brooklyn at Boston. Kyrie Irving remains out with his right shoulder impingement. Also for the Nets, DeAndre Jordan is questionable with left ankle soreness. He missed their previous game. For the Boston Celtics, Kemba Walker is supposed to be back in action. He's listed as probable with his neck sprain that he suffered over the weekend. Daniel Tice is out again with an illness that kept him out of the previous game. And then Marcus Smart is probable with a finger issue. He has been having some trouble with some trouble with one of his knuckles on his hand, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be an issue that really keeps him out for any games.
All right, so
you don't have any thoughts on the Brooklyn at Boston?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say it's a bummer that we don't get Kyrie because that's kind of the storyline, right?
Oh, I mean,
that was the big deal coming in, so we kind of fall short of expectations, sadly. And ESPN did a piece yesterday, or maybe earlier this morning. Rachel Nichols with Danny Ainge. Kind of talking about how things went last year and how he's taking the blame and people shouldn't put it on Kyrie, and that the expectations were, he talked about all sorts of different aspects of last year's team, and it was kind of fun to see him break it down about the last couple of years, about how you had the young guys win or exceed expectations without Kyrie, and then have him, and it was, nobody really wanted to jump out and be like the alpha dog kind of thing. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, the hindsight thing and being able to reflect on stuff, you can find the right ways to describe it so it sounds like it makes sense in hindsight. And that's kind of what I felt that Ainge was doing, was he was looking back and trying in him explaining that essentially the team was too flat last year. Like there were too many guys who were of the same talent level. So then there wasn't really a pecking order. Whereas you look at the Lakers and you got LeBron, you got Anthony Davis, and then everybody knows like, okay, those guys are obviously the best guys on the team, and we all just need to get in our roles behind them. Whereas he's essentially was saying that with the Celtics last year, there wasn't enough of a talent disparity between the top guys and the next tier guys for anybody to say like, I should be giving up my shots to this guy, or I should be giving up my shots to that guy. Everybody thought that they deserved the shots that they were trying to get, and that, I mean, you can say that from a talent perspective, but that's more of a, like, Brad Stevens could have played a shorter rotation. He could have just said, we're not playing Terry Rozier. He could have,
Kyrie, I want you to take 25 shots a game, or Tatum, I need you to, I mean, yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Well, and then like also, sometimes there are certain players who may be putting up good statistics, but it doesn't necessarily, that means that playing them big minutes is good for your team's progression as a team. So like, regardless of the fact that Gordon Hayward was struggling last year, I don't think the Celtics ever should have had Marcus Morris in their starting lineup, because
thank you. I'm glad that's where you were going with this. I completely agree. He was
never brought in to be that guy. So even if Hayward was struggling, he was still your starter. So like bringing Hayward off the bench all year and then talking about how he has confidence issues and this and that, and like, well, his role changes based on whether or not he's shooting hot. Like, you think that these confidence issues only happen for younger players if you're yanking them in and out of the game based on and giving them minutes based on whether or not they're hot or not. Like that's the same thing for your stars and stuff like that. It's going to affect them mentally too. And there's a reason why there was a correlation between whenever Kyrie Irving was out last year, Gordon Hayward would have like hyper efficient, crazy, awesome all-star level games. And then, like just because the mix didn't work last year, it's not like, I guess I don't like that Danny Ainge was trying to like do this Captain Hindsight crap with it. And it's fine. You can think that, and he might not be lying. It just might be his rosy way of looking at it, or his way of having a polite discussion about it without throwing players under the bus. That's all fine. However, that's fine. But I don't know if I'm buying it. I think that it might be right from a certain perspective, but it didn't work right. And ultimately I think you gotta blame the coach, because you had plenty of talent on the team.
They didn't end up with Anthony Davis. That's the other thing.
Blame Danny Ainge, because so many of the team's narratives were about, we're going to flip all of our players to go do another KG and Ray Allen trade, like you're essentially building this idea that you're just a thoughtless organization who doesn't care about their players. And that is another perception that supposedly turned Anthony Davis away from them in regards to considering them a place that he wanted to go play at, is their treatment of Isaiah Thomas with him getting injured and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Oh, and also the way that they treated Jay Crowder, and the fact that Jay Crowder got traded on the same day that his mother passed away. So that stuff matters.
Yeah, that's pretty cutthroat right there. I mean, what the hell?
So,
all right. Well, let's move on. What else do we got in the next game?
Yeah, sorry for rambling so much about that game.
That's all right. Well, that was an interesting topic from the day, so I think that was an important segment.
All right, the third game of the night in the 14 game slate, Utah at Indiana. From the Utah side of things, Rudy Gobert is still questionable for this one with his ankle. He's missed the last 2 games. Nigel Williams-Goss is probable with toe sprain, and people are saying, who is that? Ed Davis remains out with his fractured fibula. And then on the Indiana side of things, Edmund Sumner remains out with his right hand fracture, and Jakar Sampson is listed as doubtful with a sore back, but he'll likely be out. He hasn't been able to do anything in practice for the last week. Anything interesting from this Utah at Indiana game? I think I'll lose interest in it if Gobert doesn't play.
It drops a lot, and that's really how it goes in the NBA. It's a superstar league, and you want to see the superstars play. So with that, I mean, you're already not seeing Oladipo, but then you take away Gobert as well. And the Oladipo Mitchell matchup would have been a lot of fun, but who knows? This game I think it'll still be competitive. So there's that.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's just hard for me to see the Jazz are so. Well,
Bogdanovich versus his old team. I guess that is another storyline.
Oh, you're right. Yep. Bojan Bogdanovich revenge game against Indiana. So, although I think they parted on good terms, he got a ton of money from the Jazz. Sacramento at the Philadelphia 76ers. The Kings have Trevor Ariza out with his right groin issue. Marvin Bagley remains out with his fractured right thumb that he's coming back from. And then Bogdan Bogdanovich is probable with his left hamstring tightness. On the Sixers side of things, Kyle O'Quinn is out with calf strain, and then Shake Milton is out due to illness. I guess we're just looking at a hopeful bounce back for Joel Embiid after probably the worst game of his career, and then a little bit of a Rashawn Holmes revenge game narrative here with the Sixers.
I expect Embiid to have an incredible game and really demolish the Kings.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Embiid goes for 50 or something just completely absurd after scoring 0 points, because that's how it goes. These guys, especially these players who have that potential to be all-time greats when it's all said and done, they don't shirk from a bad game. They usually rise to the occasion in the next one. The next game, Detroit at Charlotte. Reggie Jackson remains out with his lower back issue. Tony Snell is questionable with his left hip flexor. He's been out for, I believe, 3 or 4 games. And then on the Charlotte side of things, Malik Monk is probable with the sprained finger, and Cody Zeller is probable with a left hip contusion. Any narratives here that we want to talk about? I saw some rumors that Charlotte people are interested in potentially trading for Andre Drummond, although I don't really see that as a likely possibility.
I did not hear that, but so that would basically mean that the Pistons are selling.
Yeah, but Drummond's on the last year of his contract now, so
get something while you can.
And what's Charlotte going to trade back? Are they going to?
You get Biyombo.
Okay. That one.
Where's he at on his deal?
I don't think we need to worry about it.
All right.
No, that's just it. His next destination should probably be just not in the NBA.
All right.
New York at Toronto. From the New York side of things, Frank Ntilikina is questionable with his groin issue. RJ Barrett is questionable with an illness that kept him out of the previous game. Alfred Payton remains out with his sore hamstring. Kevin Knox is doubtful with a quad issue. I mean, wow, just quite a bit of injury issues there for a team that's already struggling. What was that?
He has 4 issues.
Who? Oh, quad issues. That's funny. That's a math joke.
Good night, guys.
Mathematical.
Good night. Have a good night, everybody.
On the Toronto side of things, Kyle Lowry remains out with his fractured left thumb. Serge Ibaka is doubtful for this game with his sprained ankle, and realistically, they're not expecting Ibaka to play until the weekend. DeJuan Hernandez is out with a right thumb sprain. Don't even know why I mentioned that. And then Matt Thomas recently fractured his finger, and he's out for this game as well. New York at Toronto, it's going to be a beatdown, right?
Yeah. I'm a big Matt Thomas guy, though.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, he's on Alaska, Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. Okay. Actually, I didn't know you even know who he was, but big ups to Matt Thomas. Miami at Houston, the next game. Jimmy Butler's probable with an illness. Justice Winslow is probable to return after being missing several weeks last couple weeks with concussion. James Johnson is probable after dealing with an illness. And then for the Houston Rockets, Clint Capella is questionable with an illness. A lot of illnesses going around. What's going on? I guess it's just that time of the season, huh?
It's those dirty locker rooms.
And it's probably I don't know. Maybe it's all the holiday travel that's going on.
All those athletes and their feet.
That might be it. I am interested to see how Justice Winslow returning to the Heat rotation is going to affect things. Do they put him right back into the starting lineup? Do they bring him off the bench for a little while? Does Justice Winslow steal more minutes from guards like Kendrick Nunn, Goran Dragic, Tyler Hero, or does he steal minutes from some of the power forwards, whether it is who's the guy that's Myers Leonard or our boy Kelly Olynyk, who's been playing well lately? So
Kelly had a big game last game. I think Jimmy will play, and Jimmy will have a good game because he's a Houston guy, isn't he? I doubt he would miss like a homecoming type game. So
well, and they Jimmy and James Johnson both, I believe, missed practice on Tuesday or were sent home from practice with their illness, but then they traveled with the team. So they're not going to have them travel with the team unless they think they can play. So, next game, Los Angeles Clippers at Memphis. There's no way Kawhi Leonard plays on the second night of a back-to-back. Right. Especially against Memphis. Just not happening. Ja Morant on the Memphis side of things is questionable with back soreness after he took a knee to the back from a sideline cameraman last game.
They're too close. They are. They're too close.
Oh, whatever, man. I mean,
God.
How do you fix that problem then? Are you going to automate these jobs?
No, you.
Because then how close? How close are you going to get these robots?
All right. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. We're in the Matrix.
That's a whole nother discussion.
All right. My mistake for opening up Pandora's mechanical box.
Well, I mean, I just don't like that the first reaction to a player getting hurt in a situation is get rid of the situation. It's like, come on, man.
It seems dangerous all the time. It really does. They're too close. And as an athlete, like you can't jump and save the ball the way that these guys should be able to. I think we're missing out on certain plays because that people are too close.
And it's dangerous for the athlete on plays that are out of bounds.
Saving the ball, saving the ball. I don't know. I think they don't need to be so close. I think we have
to admit too that Ja Morant is out there throwing his body around right now, trying to build his profile in the league.
Sensational.
It is. It's a lot of fun to watch, but he's definitely trying to build his brand. Okay, he's out there trying to get from NXT to WWE right now. Okay, in the people's mindset, in the people's mind.
Wow, that was a pretty incredible wrestling analogy you just made. I am impressed.
I knew it would get your jollies going.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I'm tickled.
Okay, but anyways, the Grizzlies are going to get worked. Throw their thing down, flip it, and reverse it. But hopefully, Ja Morant's healthy enough to play, and maybe we get a good enough game out of Jaren Jackson against Paul George to
Triple J
to give this,
six
to make this
6 3-point buckets last game.
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt you there.
Big Daddy Fat Sacks. He's awesome, man.
What do we got in our next game?
Atlanta at Milwaukee, a revenge game for Atlanta. They're trying to take back some of their pride after losing against the Bucks in their previous matchup. Unfortunately, Vegas does not think that the Hawks have much of a chance in this one. The Milwaukee is favored by 14.5 points. Cam Reddish is probable with a left wrist sprain for the Hawks. DeAndre Bembry is questionable with a right hip contusion. DeAndre Hunter, there's a lot of DeAndres on the Hawks. Right knee contusion, he's probable. And then Trae Young is also probable with the right ankle sprain. Whenever the Hawks list guys is probable, they play. So those three guys listed as probable, they're all going to play. DeAndre Bembry, straight up question mark. The more exciting thing injury-wise in this game is the fact that Chris Middleton, who was expected to miss like another week, a week and a half or so, is going to be back in action. He went through 5-on-5 practice on Monday. He got cleared on Tuesday, and he was like, yo, I'm back, baby.
Very excited about this. He's been out for a few weeks, and the Bucks were undefeated without him, somewhat surprisingly. But there's nothing like adding Chris Middleton back. So I wonder if what the situation is going to be tomorrow night with Dante. He's been the starting shooting guard since Chris went out, moving Wes Matthews up to the 3. So we'll see what the rotation and starting lineup end up being with Middleton back. If they bring him back slowly, you're going right for it. Go ahead. What do you think?
You know what they're gonna do.
Dante goes to the 6th man.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
This is a veteran team that's trying to win the championship. They're not gonna get too cute with this. And like Wes Matthews just had a huge game last game too. So they're you know what I'm saying. And
leads the Bucks in made threes on the year.
The other thing about the Bucks is, especially with a shorter term injury like this, Middleton had a thigh contusion. They weren't going to bring him back until he's healthy. It sounds like he went through all the appropriate steps. He's healthy. I'm not expecting his minutes to be much more limited than what we would generally see, which means he'll probably end up falling in right around 30 minutes, maybe less, because this is going to be a punk slap across the face to the Hawks, most likely.
I think we can agree on that. We've also got Minnesota coming to San Antonio.
Yep, and this is interesting from the fact that like Minnesota is better than the Spurs right now, and that's hilarious to say. But Jake Layman remains out with his foot soreness issue. Josh Okogie is Okogie. Is it Okogie or Okogie? I always forget.
I say Okogie.
Oh yeah, I think it's Okogie. He's probable with left knee soreness. Trevion Graham is probable with his left forearm contusion. Shabazz Napier remains doubtful with his hamstring issue. But this Timberwolves team is just super interesting right now because of the fact that Jeff Teague went to the bench in their previous game. accepted that backup role. We've got Andrew Wiggins starting at point guard for them, Jarrett Culver starting at shooting guard. We still have Trevion Graham starting at small forward for them, but I wish Josh Okogie wasn't dealing with this knee tendonitis, this knee soreness, because ultimately, if you're going to lean this far into the future already, get Trevion Graham out of there. The only reason he's in that starting lineup right now is because he's a defense first, low volume kind of guy on offense, and that helps clear the path for the other guys to kind of dominate the offense, whether that's Karl Towns, Andrew Wiggins, and now Jarrett Culver, as well as Robert Covington. But Josh Okogie is a defense first, low volume guy as well. So, and Trevion Graham was just a free agent they brought in to fill a role, whereas Josh Okogie might end up being one of your starting guards for the, in perpetuity. So I'd like to see that lineup get a look sooner than later. There's other iterations I'd like to see with Jordan Bell in their rotation more too, but sorry, I feel like I'm dragging now. Just
no, you're doing fine. We're talking about the
happy rotation ideas.
Timberwolves rotation, and I think we've already covered your opinions on the Spurs rotation. So I think we can go on to the Wizards coming to Phoenix.
Well, it is still interesting that we're looking at the whole Derek White, DeJounte Murray coming off the bench situation, and the fact that Marco Bellinelli left out of the rotation last game. Like with the Spurs, is there going to be another change coming? And
some of the changes are that DeJounte Murray unfollowed the Spurs on Instagram.
So it turns out, and I retweeted that without even so on Twitter, there was this post that came across. I retweeted it. A bunch of people were retweeting it, and it said that DeJounte Murray unfollowed the Spurs on Instagram. I retweeted it, just trying to cause kind of an S storm or a poop storm with rumors, not verifying it. Like, I didn't go to DeJounte's thing and check whether or not he actually unfollowed him or whatever. What's interesting to me is DeMar DeRozan's Instagram is completely devoid of pictures right now. And people were saying that he just recently deleted everything. Now, he apparently deletes everything at the start of every season. So he just may not have been posting. I don't track these guys' Instagram that closely. However, the DeJounte thing, he apparently never followed the Spurs. Like, he doesn't follow any team accounts. He just follows different players on Instagram. So this notion that he unfollowed the Spurs is just, apparently it's not true. It's fake news.
Our social media department didn't get that to us in time for the show. So
the thing is, like, those kind of rumors things, like, if they turn out to be true, they're fun. But most likely on the internet, like, you have to be skeptical of that stuff, So I kind of like retweeting it, whether it's true or not, just because it gets people worked up. And what better use for Twitter than to troll other people, especially since none of us know each other and most of us are doing all of our tweeting from the toilet. So.
Wow. All right. So the Wizards are going to Phoenix.
Yeah. Summer magic, baby.
Some basketball will be played there, and then you've got the Lakers.
Hold on now.
Oh, sorry.
You can at least cover the injuries. There's nothing really to talk about injury-wise from the Wizards side of things, but for the Phoenix Suns, Aaron Baines is lacking in vitamin D, so he'll be out with a right hip contusion. And Ricky Rubio is probable with his back issue. Cameron Johnson is also probable with right knee soreness. Hopefully this is not going to be a Ricky Rubio comes back, has a recurrence of his back issue and only plays 16 minutes like he did the last time he was trying to come back. Hopefully the Suns have gotten Ricky Rubio right, and we're going to see the Suns start to play better than they have been in this recent stretch. They got off to such a good start to the season that would be good to see them kind of keep up that positive momentum.
Yeah, the Suns still sitting in that 8 seed at 8-8. So a win here, of course, would put them above 500.
And then, as you mentioned a moment ago, Lakers at New Orleans Pelicans. Another opportunity for Anthony Davis to play against his former team. And I don't know if does it even matter already? I'm sure the Pelicans fans are still super pissed, but
I think it could be a game. I think it could be fun. There could be some interesting spots.
For the Lakers, Anthony Davis is listed as probable with his right shoulder soreness, but he's been listed as probable for the last few games and has been able to play through all of them. Avery Bradley remains out with his leg contusion. On the Pelican side of things, Josh Hart is questionable with his knee and ankle issue. Lonzo Ball is probable due to illness, and then Derek Favors is questionable with his back issue. Now, Lonzo might actually be more questionable. He was sent home from practice on Tuesday, but then they just didn't put him on the injury report, so who knows what's going on there. Hopefully, he literally is probable, and we'll get to continue to see Lonzo, although that's another Lonzo revenge game, too, and I guess Josh Hart in some respects.
There's a ton of storylines. Ingram, I mean, there's a lot going on here.
This will definitely be a game I look in on. It still lacks some of the punch of the narratives that we'll maybe be able to look forward to later this season once Zion is available to play in the matchup.
In the next game, we got OKC coming to Portland, which no love lost there, even though Russell Westbrook won't be in the game. You still had the wave goodbye and Lillard hitting the shot at the end of the playoff series back in the spring. So, and both teams are not all that good. So this could be an interesting game, but Portland's certainly on the upswing since Carmelo came back and beating the crap out of the Bulls last night.
Well, I wouldn't say that Portland's on the upswing.
They're on the upswing. They got
Carmelo.
Games with Melo. They're on the upswing.
And then they won one against Chicago Bulls. So, I don't know if I'd say this is on the upswing. And this is a 3-point game, Portland by 3, according to Las Vegas. So it's going to be a close one. And there's also that whole Carmelo versus Thunder narrative too. I mean, lots of revenge game stuff going on here.
It's going to be a fun night. I mean, almost everybody plays. There's going to be games going for 5 hours.
And then the final game of the night going into Thanksgiving, this is the one where, we'll all be regretting some of the decisions we've made at the bar with our family and friends, and or starting to realize how much we'll regret them the next morning. But Chicago at Golden State, a game that'll make you want to celebrate in desperation. For the Bulls, Ryan Arcidiacono is probable with the elbow issue. Luke Cornett is questionable with sinus surgery. Wendell Carter Jr. continues to get marked as playing, even though he never gets marked as less than probable. Anyways, Otto Porter Jr. remains out. Draymond Green from the Golden State Warriors side of thing is questionable. He's missed the last few games with right heel soreness. Man, it just sucks that even the limited players that you have to look forward to potentially watching, like a Draymond Green for the Warriors, he's seemingly never available. So anyways, that's all I got, man. Anything from that Chicago versus Golden State game that stands out to you?
Nope. That one's pretty skippable from my standpoint.
A very nice possibility or opportunity for Lauri Markkanen to try to get out of his funk that he's been in most of the season.
There you go.
If it's going to happen against a crappy team, what crappier team than the Warriors to try and do that against?
I think Kobe White will have a good game too. I think watching him shoot is always a lot of fun. I know he's as streaky as they come, but a very fun player.
Kobe White is streaky, but he also had a pretty downish game last one. So you're right. If streakiness streaks, then hopefully he has a good one here, or it's very possible, I guess.
Yeah, he's streaking through the quad.
You got anything else you want to talk about, bro?
No, I think that about wraps it up. We appreciate you tuning in to the Morning Hoops Basketball Podcast. I am Anthony Denu. You can find me on Twitter at Anthony Denu. He's Kyle McKeown. You can find him on Twitter at RotoKyleNBA. And if you want to buy Kyle some coffee,
You can Venmo me at Kyle McKeown 16. Thanks, bro. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah. Hey,
I
no
drink
problem.
a lot of coffee, man. They the coffee shop, they usually think, oh, well, okay, I don't say they usually think. I always go down there and I get 2 drinks, and it's a coffee and a chai tea latte, because I sit at home. I want comfort drinks and I want stuff to keep me going, fuel for the fire, baby. And for the longest time, they thought I was buying a drink for somebody else, and they were like, who? One of the baristas was like, "Who you always buying that second drink for?" And I was like, myself. I felt so lame saying myself, but yeah.
That's good. I like it.
Hey, why would I? If anything, I guess it shows self-care.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Love you.
I'm a provider for my own emotional security.
These are very important things. Well, we appreciate you tuning in, and please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on whatever form that you are listening to us. And it's time for us to turn tail and run. We'll see you Wednesday night.
All right. Why don't you tell? Okay, so before we started the podcast tonight, Anthony was playing this dumb song that I used to play all the time when we were roommates together, and it's in this apartment that I still live in. And when he finally
hated the song,
but he never told me when we lived together, so I'd like get in the shower and I'd be blaring this thing and singing it like a big idiot, and he never told me. And then he finally told me sometime, and ever since you told me, Anthony, I've never been able to listen to that song again. Like, I immediately I'd listen to it and I'd be like, yeah, he's right. The song is dumb. And I don't like to be influenced by people. I will ardently be like, no, and take stances sometimes just to not be influenced by others' perspectives, which sounds very arrogant. But for whatever reason, as soon as you said that it wasn't a good song, I was like, wait a minute, is this a good song? And I started listening to it and I was like, this song sucks. And then you started playing it earlier tonight, and I'm like, what is that crappy song that he's playing? And then I realized you were just trolling me, and
I love that you caught on to that. It made me so happy when you finally looked at me in the camera, in the webcam, and you started shaking your head. I knew, and you were like, "What are you doing playing that?" And I was like, "Oh, all right." And I got to see the moment it registered. It made me so happy.
Well,
I haven't played that song since I lived with you. I've never actually played it. I had to Google those lyrics to find out who did the song and then played it. And that was the first time I've heard it since 2013. That's when you and I lived together, 2012 and 2013. And it wasn't until years after that you and I lived together that I finally told you that I hated that song. The reason I didn't tell you that I hated it is because I was worried that if you knew that I didn't like it, that you were going to play it over and over and over again.
That's so funny.
Because, you set me on fire.
Well, no, and because you're right. That's the way I do stuff, is like, if somebody's like, I don't like that, I'm like, okay. Also, I don't know why, but I have like this psychological bent towards you where I seriously, I think of you as, and like, you don't have any older siblings. I don't have any younger siblings, but I look at you and I'm like, that's my younger brother. I'm gonna make his life miserable.
It's really great. And now it's a podcast for all to enjoy. And hey, we appreciate you enjoying it, and we hope you enjoyed it tonight, tomorrow morning, and then once again tomorrow night when Kyle and I are back right here. And thanks for tuning in. He's Kyle, once again, at RotoKyleNBA on Twitter. You can find me at Anthony Denu, and we will see you tomorrow night.
Hello.